Hello there, stereotypical Britain man here, and I'd like to start this video out saying two things. A, if we retire one stereotype, we have to retire all of them. If we retire all of them, then comedy as a whole will crumble. And B, stereotypical does not equal offensive. Offensive portrayals of race, religion, or sexual orientations seek to deny these groups of the ability to be dynamic people, and reduce them to being simply one-dimensional laughingstocks. I personally do not agree with Hari Kondabolu's feelings towards the Simpsons character Apu. I personally feel he's missing the entire point of the joke. Every Simpsons character is established as being a stereotype. Every comedic character from Ned Flanders to Julio to Groundskeeper Willie. They are all meant to stereotypically represent their respective groups. This is because the writers understand that comedy is only derived by having at least a loose understanding of stereotypes. Comedians like Kevin Hart, Gabriel Iglesias, and others all understand this. Their funniest moments are only funny because of this. I would have hoped that a comedian like Hari Kondabolu would also understand this. Pardon the rather offensive wording, but Hari, quite frankly, is acting exactly like a snowflake. The entire time I watched his documentary, I felt the itch that the entire reason he made it in the first place was he was just mad at people who kept repeating Apu's phrases at him during his comedy shows. And this was his way of trying to get back at all those mean bullies to stop. However, it just seems like he's being more selfish in his crusade against Apu. Even his parents, natives of India, don't exactly see why he finds the character so offensive. He even went as far as to go up to Whoopi Goldberg to discuss Apu and label him as pretty much nearly identical to a white man portraying a black man in a minstrel show. But you see, there's a problem with comparing Apu to the way black people were portrayed back in the past. This not only undersells how Apu is written, but also I believe it is doing a great dishonor towards black people. The racism in these old films and plays sought to portray the lifestyle of these black people as amazing and great when they were not filled with such. As we all know, their lifestyles were not as glamorous. These portrayals sought to take personality away from these people. Now, you may retort with saying that Apu is simply the stereotypical Indian convenience store worker, but is he really? I don't watch The Simpsons very often, but Apu is a character that is simply an average guy trying to create a successful business in America. He likes working and is generally an easygoing character, very admirable traits. He's also seen to be quite witty, leading some humorous moments from him that aren't tied to races. I'd show you, but Fox would probably take this video down. You might consider the way he conducts his work in the Quickie Mart to be possibly offensive. However, the way I look at it, the joke is that it's wrong for anyone who sells food to cover expiration dates. It's just as funny as if a white guy does it. Speaking of white guy, something Hari harps on a lot is the fact that Hank Azaria does the voice for Apu. And Hank is, of course, a white man.
Oh my God!
But you see, it's not that bad. Hank Azaria is a man who has been proven to be quite talented with his various roles in different movies. His portrayal of Apu isn't actually that shocking. The reason so many people were surprised that Hari told them Hank voices Apu is because Hank does a very good and convincing job of having an Indian accent without being over the top. That's a big part of voice acting. I personally don't think that people only like Apu for Hank's portrayal. I think that they like him for the same reasons they like any other character. They're funny. Homer is a funny character, and his voice is just something that you honestly do remember most about him. And his voice is something that you just remember about him. It's part of him because of how it's a running gag. Why else do people go around saying, "Hello, I'm Homer! Donuts." The same just happens for Apu. People remember his voice and that he works at the Quickie Mart. That's why they repeat the "thank you, come again." It's part of his character. It'd be the same if I went, "Hello there mates, it's me, average British man, Alex. Why don't you and me have a walk down the road? We can go into one of the shops and pick up a bag or two of Walkers. And while we're there, we could just pick up some tea, why not?" It's just a voice, and I really hope that the whole documentary wasn't based on the fact that Apu has a stereotypical voice that was made by a white man. I really hope this because do you know who else Hank has done the voice of? The Bumblebee Man. If you guys aren't aware by now, I'm Hispanic, Mexican American, and personally, I don't have a problem with Hank Azaria doing a stereotypical Hispanic accent. He's actually done this twice. both in The Simpsons and in the movie Hop. I don't find it offensive because it's stereotypical. I recognize that this is true and that this is not a representation of how these people act. The same is done with Apu. No one really does think that South Asian people are actually like this. And if they do, well, they're just stupid. It's as simple as that. They're very ignorant to the world around them. And how do we reduce the amount of these people? We have to educate them. Educate them with characters that better represent their races. With all the money Hadi was given to make this documentary, he probably could have made a nice TV movie resisting these stereotypes. Hell, it worked with black people with Black Panther, it worked with Asian people in anime and Chinese action films, and it's working for Hispanic people like me with movies like The Book of Life and Coco. The same could happen for any other race. It just takes someone to make that story. Censoring characters won't solve any of the problems mentioned in the documentary. Only introducing people to better representations of certain people. I was Rev22360, thank you for listening to me talk about this documentary, and I implore you all to write your own interesting stories.